Bonjour, mes amis. Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor here. Very excited to share with you a new weapon in the meme wars. And I heard about this thing. I felt it in my bones. I felt it in my marrow. I felt it in my blood that this was a powerful, powerful bit of meme magic. So I didn't even look too far into this. I just had to dash off a quick little script to cash in on this phenomenon and add, of course, my little Dogg analysis to it. So before I get into that, shout out to my coworker Sherry, who is on the right side of things. And when I ask her, when she talks to me, about how to respond when people ask her if she's gotten the jabby, she just says, "I'm covered." And she says, and people just say, "Okay." And then she says, "I'm covered in the blood of Jesus Christ." So that is how she responds to it, which is very beautiful. But what we're saying now, this new weapon, we are not unvaccinated people. We are pure blood. And apparently the mainstream media is shitting itself over this, which I haven't confirmed, but I'm sure it is. And basically they're comparing that to the Third Reich. I think I can say those words. And I mean, of course, it's comparing itself to the Third Reich, and that's what's so hilarious about the left, as I've been pointing out in some of my meme videos. Is they don't, when you do something and then they take the same thing and try to use that to make fun of you, and you say, "No, I just said that. You've been comparing us to the Third Reich for years, and now you're going to compare us to the Third Reich again." It's lost its magic. So the great thing about pure blood here, #pure blood, is it's emphatically not about race, like the Third Reich used it, right? They were all concerned about Aryans, blonde hair, blue-eyed stuff, and really getting rid of the undesirable traits and undesirable people, so you want to be really worried about, bloodline and things like that, and race, of course, and color of your skin, traits, phenotypes, yada, yada, yada. That was Yiddish, by the way. So this is so emphatically not about race. And the real insidious thing about discrimination, and it's silly that I have to explain it to people, but we're so far down the road with leftist thought that we don't even remember what the problem is in the first place. And the problem is the problem with discrimination is when you discriminate against someone on the basis of something that's beyond their control, right? Like their skin color. If you say you can't buy a house because your skin color, that's clearly wrong and evil, because there's nothing that person can do about that. There's nothing they can do to change their skin color. So it's basically unjust. And, and as the man said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are all individually threatened. Our livelihoods and our rights are diminished by the diminishing of one person's rights, no matter where they are. So we really, 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 anyone, no matter how you feel about, someone with orange skin, shall we say, you gotta just recognize that's not right. That's not right to take away, to classify people, vis-a-vis the law in terms of factors that are beyond their control. Okay, so that's very, very bad. But whether you get the jab or not, that's a choice. Okay, that's and they want people. They want to say that people who don't make that choice should be discriminated against. And we're turning that around and say, no, if you've made that choice, heaven help you, but I don't want to make that choice, And I think, I theorize that based on those people making that choice, they're going to have a bad time. Their children are going to have a bad time. They really blew it. They blew it for future generations, and it's going to be a real bummer for them. And they want to take away our choice. Actually, they want to make it so everyone just has to submit to that authority, that authoritarian mindset, and just shut up and take it. And as always, they think they're on the right side. So we're not unvaccinated anymore, guys. We're pure blood. Our blood is not tainted by the poison that the globalists are trying to force us to inject. Our children's blood will not be tainted. It's not going to go any further. We're done. Okay, we've had it. And this is, I don't know if I've said this in a video before, but even if you are a racist, like if you are worried about your children breeding with members of another race, it's going to be a lot more important for the survival of your, precious traits. And I don't mean to sound condescending, but it's going to be a lot more important for the survival of your genes to make sure that your children don't mate with someone who has gotten the jab, because they could be completely shut down reproduction-wise, and you can end up having no children. So, fact. So my little analysis here about this pure blood term, which so first of all, it's so great because with the Third Reich, they took some symbols. They took some symbols that used to be benign or even good, and they made it so. Well, really, the mainstream media who came after them made it so we can't ever refer to them. Okay, we just erased it from the collective memory. Like the Charlie Chaplin mustache. You can't wear a Charlie Chaplin mustache anymore. So, and because this, the pure blood, not as a symbol, but as a meme in the Dawkins sense, is very, very much associated with that strain of thought. And this is taking it back basically and saying it's not about purity of blood in terms of miscegenation, right? Bad breeding, uncontrollable factors, where you were born, who you were born to, but it's about making the actual choice to pollute your blood and to in some case weaken or destroy your blood and your genetics for generations to come. Like again, we don't know what the effect is. People who are in favor of it, people who are opposed to it, just don't know. We have best case scenario about 9 or 10 months of data going into this thing. Okay, so you just don't know, but you're taking a chance. You're taking a chance with yourself and your children, and that's the fact. So let's talk about the N-word. You know what I mean? The worst swear word in the English language, right? Worse than the F word is the N-word. And just imagine you're an English teacher. I was an English teacher in Japan once, teaching English to students teaching English to Japanese people. I got paid to do that once. And imagine you're an English teacher, and a Japanese person says to you, "Excuse me, why is the N-word so bad?" How do you answer that? Why is the N-word so bad? Why is it worse than the F word or the S word, right? Or the other words that I won't say, but that you get banned instantly. And this predates cancel culture, right? This is as long as I've been alive, this is the worst word you could say. So, and why? Imagine you're explaining that situation to someone who's not familiar with your culture. Okay, so what I'm getting at here, Chris Rock said it best. He said, "I love black people, but I hate N-words." Okay, so when we're talking about white people, we can use other terms. It's not offensive, really, even to use the word white trash or redneck or hillbilly, okay? And we understand that when we use these words, we aren't referring to all white people, okay? To call someone white trash or redneck or a hillbilly or a bogan in Australia it doesn't mean they're white. It means they're white and they're low class. They're trashy, they're probably poor. They're educated. They probably have some bad social habits. They probably have poor hygiene. They might live in a trailer or something like that. All of these images come to mind when we use those types of words about white people, and so that's okay. It's okay to be specific with white people and to characterize us, right? And there's other words like now there's the word Karen we can refer to. Yuppie is a word that doesn't really get thrown around anymore, and it's not specific to white people, but it basically is, suburban, and soccer moms. That's another word you can kind of say. And those are, we're using language to discriminate between specific groups. And if we say just something like, I don't like soccer moms, or soccer moms do this, it's okay. It's true, right? We can convey something about the world we live in, our reality, to another person, black or white. As long as they speak English and they have that cultural framework, they're going to know what you mean, and they're not going to say that you're a racist. So that's what Chris Rock means when he's using that word there, okay? And that's what probably most people who want to use that word mean when they say it, okay? So they're actually, by using the N-word, they're actually trying to make a distinction between regular black people and a different type of black people who are low class. So what we've actually done, which is supremely ironic, by removing the ability to refer to low class black people, to refer to a specific subclass of black people with that word, is we've made it so that that word applies to all black people. Okay, so you can either call them all black people, or you can call them all the N-word. And then they turn around and say, you can't tell the difference between any of them. They all look the same, right? So it's extremely ironic because, in reality, people tend to form into these hierarchical structures, okay? And by obliterating these hierarchical structures, we think that we're equalizing everyone, right? It's like we've got the pyramid, and we're taking everyone and kind of putting them down here. And that's good for the people down here, and it's bad for the people up here. But it's also bad for the people who are anywhere between here and here, okay? So that's the problem for socialists, is that basically there are people who are better off than you, and not all of them are evil. And when you go through all this stuff, you're losing their support. So another example of this is this book here, The Voodoo Queen by Robert Tallant. And this is something I would never have heard about unless I lived in New Orleans. This is about Marie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen. So she was a voodoo yen, as she was called. She was a sorceress, and she was a Creole woman. So she was of mixed African and European heritage, and that's very important to her identity. So Creoles, as I said, they were mixed race, right? Their skin color was lighter than a black person, but they were obviously not European. They couldn't pass as European, although some of them did, and chose to, and that was an interesting choice. They were another more or less synonym for these people is free people of color. Free people of color. So in the time of slavery, these people could own slaves. They could own property. They might not have been able to vote in all cases, but they were definitely not slaves. They were proud of their identity and their unique Creole culture and heritage. So in the book, The Voodoo Queen, one of the things that just hit me over the head when I first read it is there's some rivalry between Marie Laveau and another witch doctor named Dr. John. And Dr. John is an African. He's a black man, and she calls him the N-word, and he calls her a mutt and a mongrel. So that's the interesting, crazy thing, is that he's also proud of his heritage as a black man, and he's proud of his culture as a black man. And I think he was a free black. I can't remember. I don't think he was a slave, but there were also free, blacks, which were just included, I guess. People of color included people of different colors. So when the book here gets to the Civil War and the emancipation of black people, this is a thing I never thought about, but how did that affect free people of color? That's right. They stopped being free people of color and they just became blacks. And they didn't like blacks, okay? But so emancipation, as great as it was for the slaves, was really, really bad for Creoles, okay? And basically, Creole doesn't exist anymore. Those people, I mean, they exist. They obviously exist. The people exist, but that culture is gone, okay? Because along with eradicating whiteness, we've also eradicated successful people of color. We've eradicated the possibility of upward mobility for people of color, okay, by making it all about color, making it all about race, and making it all about oppression. So basically, instead of bringing the top down to the bottom, we brought the middle down to the bottom, and the top is, it's orchestrating all this, and we just let them get away with it, okay, or at least some of us do. So, the whole thing. The whole thing is that it's about choice, and that's what's so terrifying, because these people basically don't believe in choice. They don't believe that you can make your own choices, because if you do, you'll screw up, and I've talked about this, okay? Everyone's going to screw up. They don't know how to make good choices, so we got to control them. We got to have these elites make our decisions for us. We got to have scientists, and social engineers to make all our decisions for us, okay? So, obviously, taking the jab is a choice, and it's a bad choice, I'm saying. And let's hope it remains a choice, all right? But don't choose to be unvaccinated. Choose #pureblood. All right. This has been Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor. Thank you, and good night.